Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Farzy Show. My name's Marc Farzetta. It is a pleasure to have you along for the ride here at the Steven Singer Studios. So much to get into today, and I know I might say that to you every day, but most days I'm probably lying. No, we got Marc Zumoff on the show. That's why it's a big show today. That's right. Marc Zumoff on the program just 48 hours after announcing his retirement after 27 years, called the play-by-play of your 10-9-8 76ers. 40 years. 40 years. Marc talks about with us his first day on the job, how he got the news that he was going to be the Sixers play-by-play guy, and how he leaves us. How he leaves us. And you know what's really funny? This might just go to show how much he and I are on the same wavelength. I gave an example yesterday of Tuesdays with Morrie. If you remember that book, I think they made a movie out of it. I think Hank Azaria was in the movie. And they made a movie about it, and it was about this teacher who was dying. And instead of just dying, he was like, you know what? I want to be at my own funeral. I want people to come here and say nice things. I want all my friends to come over here and say a eulogy for me. And he gets to sit there and listen to all these people say all these nice things about him. And Marc goes the same direction. Not Tuesdays with Morrie, but something very similar. So you're going to want to hear that from him because he goes, it is morbid, but... And I go, it's not morbid. It's amazing. And Marc just speaks so eloquently. And we talked for about 15, 20 minutes or so. And he just continues to be like one of the best guys I know. So we will talk to Marc Zumoff on this show today. And you'll hear it right from him as far as where the Sixers are, the state that he leaves the Sixers in. He'll talk to us about, again, his first day, what it was like to be a kid from the Northeast, just to all of a sudden have this job where you're not only in broadcasting, but you're all of a sudden the play-by-play announcer of your childhood favorite team. So we will get all that from Marc Zumoff. And for those wondering, yeah, I did call him out for trying to steal my idea of moving to Italy and buying a pizza shop. Him with his wanting to learn foreign languages and wanting to travel and whatever nonsense. Anyway, so Marc will join the show coming up in a little bit. Those Philadelphia Phillies. Oh, man. So Aaron Nola gets pulled yesterday after allowing 5 runs. 11 strikeouts, by the way, for Aaron Nola in a little over 4 innings pitched. I'm watching him yesterday, and he's really getting a lot of calls here. There was a lot of pitches that were not on the inside corner, not on the outside corner, not at the letters, that were high, low, outside, well outside that little box they put on the TV for you nowadays, well outside of that, and yet it was called strike 3, called strike 3. And I'm like, man, he's really getting them calls. I hope this doesn't come back to bite him. And, oh, man, it came back to take a whole arm, basically, because the Marlins started to adjust to that strike zone, that very wide strike zone. You know what they started to do? Started swinging at everything. And Aaron Nola threw that one pitch, I forget who it was that hit it, threw that one pitch down and away, and you could see him on the replay. When contact was made, you could see Aaron Nola go, whoa. Like, oh, man, I messed that up. And the next thing, it winds up in front of Harry the K's up there on the top deck in left field. It was absolutely belted. And that ball was down and away. There was a couple other pitchers in this ball game with Aaron Nola still in it that were down and away, low and inside, well off the plate. But hitters went down and got it because they knew they were going to be called third strikes anyway. There were 2 strike situations, so you're already protecting the plate. Next thing you know, I think it was in the 5th inning, you get 4 straight 2-out singles. That's why those hitters do. Basic stuff for any little leaguer, protect the plate with 2 strikes. And especially when you have an umpire calling that wide a strike zone, yeah, protect it. So it led to runs for the Marlins. When Aaron Nola allows 5 runs in the game, it's hard for me to go, that damn bullpen. At least that's what I was thinking when Aaron Nola was pulled in the 5th inning to go to Feliz. And then Feliz immediately allowed a run. And I was like, oh, no, I can still blame the bullpen for this. The Phillies waste 11 strikeout day from Aaron Nola. But again, Nola was erratic a little bit throughout the day. And it was mostly thanks to how the umpire was calling it. But they wasted a start from Aaron Nola. They wasted 2 home run day from Bryce Harper, who, by the way, just seems to be laser focused right now. Was 3 for 5 yesterday with 2 home runs. But those 2 home runs, again, solo shots. Nobody on base. All 13 of his home runs come with no one on base. How is that possible? That is dumbfounding to me. That might be one of the most incredible things I've heard like it just in terms of random stats to start a season, that your first 13 home runs are all solo shots. I don't know how that happens, but it happened, and it happened yesterday again. So Aaron Nola in total went 4 2/3, 7 earned runs charged to his name, 9 hits surrendered, 11 strikeouts. 2 of those were home runs from Aaron Nola yesterday. It was pretty wild. Duvall, thank you. Duvall is the guy that hit the home run yesterday. That was low and outside, 4th inning, and he just went down and got it, belted it 458 feet to the upper deck in left field. So that's how that shook out yesterday. Phillies hopefully get put the series away today with a win on this fine July 1st. Yes, that's right. Today is July 1st, by the way. So hopefully they're able to put that away. I want to make sure I get this in. The NCAA did something huge yesterday, and this takes care of one of the single oldest arguments, if not the oldest argument in all of sports. They're allowing athletes to be paid. If you've listened to me at all over the last 14, 15 years that I've been talking into a microphone, you'll know that this was my idea. Athletes should never be paid. The NCAA athletes should never be paid by the schools. I always thought that was dumb. That was, then if you pay this player, what are you going to pay that player? If you're going to pay the top basketball player in your school, what are you going to pay the soccer goalie? Whatever. Generally speaking, people. And that would just open up a can of worms in Pandora's box. And it's not like professional sports where you have one ownership group for one team. It's not like that. It would be one ownership group and then a million teams. You don't want to do that. So that's just dumb. But I've always said they shouldn't be paid, but they should be allowed to make money. So through naming, through licensing, through their image, they can now make money. And in today of the social media world, how could you not allow that? If you're just some person that wants to be a social media influencer, whatever it might be, then this is how you got to go about it. You go about it. You say, all right, I want to push products here. I have a good following. I can push products. Any average Joe can do that. Anybody can do that. There's an 8-year-old kid making like $2 million a year for unboxing toys and reviewing them. He's doing all right. He's making money off his name, his image, and his license, obviously. So why can't a professional athlete, or why can't a college athlete do that? Especially when a university is using that kid to make millions of dollars in return on how they perform on a court or whatever service of play it is. So this only makes sense to allow them to make money. God bless America, right, folks? I love the ruling from the NCAA. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's a long time coming. I have pitched this same idea to a number of coaches in the NCAA that I know. And they're all like, oh, yeah, why don't they do that? The only thing I think the NCAA dropped the ball on is this little nugget. I thought, and they can do this, I was reading about it, they can still do this, where the NCAA can basically play the role of the sports agent, and they can facilitate the player making money. So that it's possible that an endorser would go to, let's say, Temple University and say, hey, I want to make sure I endorse your team for this or whatever. I want to see them appear in some of my Instagram ads or whatever. And Temple University would be like, oh, yeah, sure, we can facilitate that. And then I think what could happen is you treat the school like they're the sports agent. They would get a percentage, and then they'd pay the players on top of that. So I think that's a brilliant idea. I think I'm surprised the NCAA didn't go more in that direction of saying, all right, we're going to pay the school and the school pays you, so that the school would control the cash flow. They didn't do that. They just went, and this is what they should do, went right to the player and said, hey, look, we're going to pay you so you can tell us how great Nike sneakers are. We're going to pay you so you can tell us how much you love McDonald's. So you no longer will just have coaches appearing in Head and Shoulders commercials without players being allowed to appear in a shoe commercial, for instance. So good on the NCAA. They got this one right, fortunately. I can't really wait much longer. I got to get to this interview with Marc Zumoff. But before I do that, I do want to tell you about our good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Right here at the Steven Singer studio, we send everybody to Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there in Philadelphia, in the heart of the city. Steven makes it easy for you. He really does. Takes away all the pressure. Because what are you thinking about when you got to buy an engagement ring? First of all, you get the easy part done, where you find someone you love, and you go, oh, man, this person's incredible. I want to marry him. All right, great. Go to Steven Singer. You know why? You don't have to worry about getting taken advantage of, because everything is set to the perfect price every day. It's not like, oh, you should have been here yesterday when we had that sale. No, every day's the sale. because they're not marking up their prices at Steven Singer Jeweler. They're just taking care of customers as they come in. You might think, I don't know how to buy a diamond. I don't know how to look at good engagement rings or anything like that. Guess what? Steven Singer has real jewelry experts, standing by at the ready to help you out as you look through all the inventory at Steven Singer Jewelers. That's right. That's why people say I hate Steven Singer, because he makes it too damn easy to buy a diamond. There's no excuse anymore. I can't go through the hassle of that. I can't afford that. Perfect price, no hassling, no haggling. You walk in and you get taken care of every single day. 365 days a year at Steven Singer Jewelers. Do what I do. Go to Steven Singer Jewelers for all your jewelry purchases. Guaranteed the perfect price each and every day. Check out Steven Singer at the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right in Philadelphia, or online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. And I'm also proud to announce a new sponsor to the Farzy Show. This is really exciting. I've worked with these guys in the past. They reached out to me and said they want to be part of the show. They love what we're doing. I'm thrilled to have them. Rothman Orthopaedics is now the sponsor of our guest line. Rothman Orthopaedics is now on board with the Farzy Show. Couldn't be more happy to have Rothman on board with us for all your orthopedic needs. Rothman Orthopaedics. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I've said it many times. I love this guy. He is a big reason. If there's a patron saint of the Farzy Show, it's this man, Marc Zumoff. And I was just beside myself, shocked to hear the news that he was retiring, as I told you yesterday. And we talk about just about everything here. So let's quit stalling. The man of the hour, the man that we'll be talking about for generations. Well, this new guy's go. He's not like Zumoff, that type of thing. Ladies and gentlemen, here on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line, our good friend Marc Zumoff. And joining us now on the Rothman Institute guest line, NBC Sports, 76ers, play-by-play man, now retired after 27 years, 40-plus years of the broadcast biz, our good friend Marc Zumoff. Zoo, how are you?
Marky, there's no one I'd rather be speaking to than you at this particular time. Thank you so much for reaching out. I got plenty of time, so we can go a couple of hours if you want.
You just want me to drive down the shore? I'll meet up with you. We'll just do it there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's an awesome idea. We'll just use our iPhones to record everything. We'll make a little studio. It'll be great.
Exactly. I know this decision has been on your mind for a while. It's been a very closely kept secret. How does it feel to be on the other side of it now? Let me ask you that first and foremost. How does it feel to have made the announcement?
Actually, blown away is really the only phrase that I can come up with. And this is sort of morbid, I guess, but I'll say it anyway. I remember many years ago reading an article about a man who, and the title of the article said, "I danced on my grave." And what he did was, while he was very much still alive, he announced his death. And what he did was he held a funeral for himself. And the reason he did that was because he wanted to experience what his funeral would be like and all the things that people would be saying about him. So now I'm hearing I just got a text from Doug Collins, and we, quite honestly, we haven't spoken in several years, just coming out and congratulating me and having some rather nice things to say. So this is part of it. I know that stuff's going to fade away eventually. Eventually I'll be replaced and years are going to go by and I'll just sort of be, a line here and there for whoever wants to read deeply into the history of Sixers broadcasters. But for right now, I'm loving the love and affection that's coming from Sixers fans. And if I could say right here and now, right back at each and every one of them, it's been awesome.
That's fantastic. It's funny. Of course, I have my own personal experiences with you, and I know the man, Marc Zumoff, and I know the broadcaster. And it's funny. I have my own personal connection with you, and then I read other people's tributes to you, and it's literally the same words almost from everybody, which just speaks to how sincere and how genuine a human being you are. I know that the well wishes come on a professional basis, but the personal message you've gotten, I'm sure, have exceeded your expectations.
It's nice of you to say. Really, listen, we all have our own egos. And I think one of the things that has helped me along the way is tamping mine down just to make sure that it doesn't get in the way, because ego can ruin a lot of things, whether it's a professional relationship, a personal relationship. So again, while we all have our egos, I have worked assiduously to try to keep mine under control, and basically just following the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So whether it's taking an interest in other people, or putting their needs first, or trying to be helpful, it really isn't hard. It does take some effort, certainly, but it really hasn't been hard. And whether it's showing gratitude to someone, or just, as I mentioned, helping someone along the way, uh, I guess in some respects, I am reaping what I've sown.
Yeah. Well, no man deserves it more so than you, my friend. That's for sure.
You're kind.
Now, I hate to go back to this, but like, I know it's what we're going to be doing now.
Mm.
Looking back on your 27 years covering 76ers basketball, is there a call that sticks out to you? Is there a particular play that sticks out to you that you made a call on?
I've been asked that, as you might imagine, many times, as you really just alluded to. And basically, there are just too many moments that I'd have to go back and somehow review. But I will say this: I always point to one game in particular. And if you go back to the lockout year, that was 98-99, the first of the two, the other one was 2012. The 76ers played, I don't know, 50 games that year. I mean, it was like a sprint. And it was the first time they made the playoffs in 8 years. Since they had traded Charles Barkley, it really was the dark ages for the Sixers. And they were a 6 seed. The Orlando Magic, they were a 3 seed. And the Sixers somehow mentioned to split with the Magic in the first two at their place. And then game three, it was the first ever playoff game at what is now known as Wells Fargo Center. And in addition to that, it was the first playoff game at home in 8 years. And Sixer fans had all this pent up frustration that they just let out. And first of all, as a broadcaster, Mark, it was the first time I had ever experienced a playoff crowd. And the difference between a regular season crowd and a playoff crowd, really, in many ways, there's no comparison. And I don't think anybody in the place sat down from tip off to buzzer. Allen Iverson in that game had an NBA record 10 steals, which still stands. And I often talk about the fact that the late Chuck Daly, who was the coach of the Magic, almost had a fight with Matt Geiger in front of the Orlando bench. I mean, it was a wild and crazy affair. Anyway, the Sixers went on to win, and they went on to win the series as well.
Amazing. I want to talk about your first day on the job, because you're this kid from Northeast Philly that goes to a game with his dad when you're 8 years old, as you so eloquently stated in your farewell letter. And then, 20 some years later, all of a sudden you find yourself broadcasting play-by-play for the Sixers. What was it like when you got the news that you were going to be taking over that position? And do you remember your first game on the job?
I do. And I while I remember all of that, the thing that really had hit home was, few people even remember this, but the 2 seasons prior, the Sixers games on the schedule were divided up. Most of the games were on a channel called Prism TV, and a handful were on another basic cable channel called Sports Channel. And I did those games. It was maybe 10 to 15 games in an 82-game season. But when I finally got the gig, Harold Katz, who was then the owner of the Sixers, wasn't too sure about my candidacy. I wasn't deemed an NBA guy, and I hadn't really had much experience, even though I'd covered the team for 13 years as the halftime host. And I remember, believe it or not, it was the news conference where the Sixers signed Scott Williams as a free agent. And Harold called me over. He said, "Come here, I want to talk to you." And he proceeded to say to me that, "Listen, I have finally given my permission to the folks at Prism to hire you as the full-time announcer." And I remember walking out of this hotel off of Bartram Avenue in South Philly, and it was like I was losing my balance. Like I was in some sort of a fog, just trying to comprehend it all. So I would think of all the different moments leading up to me becoming the full-time voice. That was one that has stayed with me this entire time.
I'm sure. Speaking of fog, one of the other things you highlighted was the cigar and cigarette smoke
So listen, back in the day, of course, cigars and cigarettes, you could smoke them in the arena. In fact, I think players, many of them, would smoke at halftime. It was that. Just to show you how long ago this was.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, my first few years as a Sixer fan, there'd be cigar and cigarette smoke kind of hanging over the court of play.
How long into your career? I mean, I don't know. You always identify as a fan, and you are, and that's beyond genuine of you. But did you still have the pinch me moments? Like, wow, this is my life. This is my job.
Up until the last game that I did, believe it or not, because when you realize a dream, and few people I think have that opportunity to realize an actual dream, not only to become an NBA announcer, but announce the games for the team I grew up rooting for. It is one of those moments that, or one of those careers that literally are surreal. So, I often would joke while I was doing the games that I'd be old and in a nursing home, and someone would come up to me and say, "Hey, you know what? You just had a great run as the TV voice of the Sixers." And I would say, "Oh yeah, sure, right, yeah, that was a dream. That didn't really happen." Well, it goes by very fast, and to think that I've actually accomplished that, to me, is still an unbelievable thing.
It's amazing, is what it is. When you have these fan interactions, and you even put in your letter, "Hey, when you see me on the street, come up and say hi. Let's talk Sixers basketball." First off, I think you're the only person to say that's totally okay to do with, which again speaks to how great a guy you are. But when you have these interactions with fans over the years, do any of these stick out to you where you're like, "Oh yeah, that one time that fan was crazy," or something like that?
I'm flipping through the pages here really quick, and oh yeah, I remember one instance, and this is just a little humorous thing. The Mid-Atlantic Emmy Awards are given away annually. I've been fortunate enough to win a few of those. And I remember one time I was late getting there because I had some other function. And I got to the hotel and I quickly parked the car, and I was running up, hoping that I can get in before my category was announced. And this woman comes running outside and recognized me, and she said, "Oh, Marc Zumoff, I have to tell you, you won. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. I love the Flyers." So, other than that, most of the interactions have been great. There are some haters on Twitter, which I know you've experienced, certainly as a sports talk host. But you know what? Even that's fine. More times than not, I'm able to disarm them, and if they begin to get personal, well, I just sort of walk away and go on to the next one.
Speaking of personal, if you remember when I became a free agent, you were nice enough to give me a call and just, see how I was doing and what the next plan was. And you said, "So what's next?" And I said, "Well, Mark, I think I'm going to move to Italy. I'm going to buy a pizza shop. And I think that's the direction I'm going to go." And then you talk me off that. You say, "No, you have a following. Don't go away till that's away, till that's gone. Don't do it." And then I'm reading your letter, and it's like, "Oh, Marc Zumoff wants to learn a language. Marc Zumoff wants to travel." And I'm like, that bastard's going to steal my idea. He's going to move to Italy. He's going to buy my pizza shop, and I will have nothing to do in retirement. So is that the move? Are you moving to Italy and buying a pizza shop? What's going on?
Bro, you got no worries. That's the first I've heard of, the fact that I might even think about doing something like that. However, your point about still being viable and being able to do that or anything else is clearly why I'm stepping away. I could easily die in this job. I loved every second of it. The people I worked with, the duties that I had, the fact that I was able to, again, broadcast the games for the team I grew up rooting for. But there are other aspects of life that before, I reach the point where physically or even mentally I can't do them. I want to be able to do. So if it is playing a musical instrument or learning a foreign language, traveling with my wife, who, by the way, is my hero for holding down the fort while I got to be sportscaster boy for all these years. I think I think I'm going to revel in that, knowing that I left at the right time and will be able to devote time to some of those other things.
We had Jim Jackson on the show yesterday, and I said, that's
Oh,
he
by
made
the
that.
way, speaking of great broadcasters, right there, awesome. Listen, and versatile, having done the Flyers and the Phillies for so many years. But go ahead, I digress.
No, yeah, absolutely. And he made the same point that, you got out on your own terms and you're doing the things you want to do now. You didn't hang on for extra years or anything like that. And you had plenty of extra years left, obviously. But I did say, yeah, Zumoff totally stole that whole, who's lost a step? That Zumoff guy. Like we will never get to have that conversation.
Thankfully not. I listen. I remember as a kid, I want to say the early '70s, watching Willie Mays with the New York Mets be a foot and a half behind the fastball and just unable to connect. Willie Mays, if not one of the greatest players of all time, certainly one of the greatest all-around players. Power, speed, all the tools that you need. And thank goodness he played in an era where he was actually able to play in the major leagues and not restrict himself to just the Negro leagues. But it was sad to see him at that point. And think about it, Mark. Let's say you're a 13-year-old kid and you're a newly minted Mets fan. And here's this old timer Willie Mays at bat, and he doesn't look very good. That's your memory of him. And you'd have to, talk to your dad or dive into the history books to see what that's about. So the fact that I could step away and people can still think that I'm, at the top of my game and ask me to stay is quite flattering and really one of the primary objects of this whole retirement thing.
Well, I will say this. When I was at NBC, I remember calling you and Ala and Serena at the time and saying, hey, would you guys mind doing some play-by-play for a bit I'm doing? It's just me around my house doing stuff, just play-by-play of that. I might have to call you again and just do that just because I'll miss you so much doing play-by-play.
Bro, listen, I'm more than happy to do it. For you, anything you want. And when I open that pizza shop in Italy, you could have a free pie.
I'm honored. A couple more quick things for you, Mark. I assume Allen Iverson was the greatest compliment ever for you at his Hall of Fame speech, saying Marc Zumoff, is the best commentator, as he put it in his Hall of Fame speech. I assume it doesn't get any bigger than that.
I think that my career and his are inextricably linked. That's just the way it's going to be because I did his games. And I have to say this, Mark, I've enjoyed all of it, whether it's looking at Charles Barkley as the halftime host or seeing what Joel Embiid and, yes, Ben Simmons are doing for the current Sixers. I will say that Allen was one of the most unique talents our game will ever see. And the fact that he gave me such great material, while I'm grateful for what he had to say at the Hall of Fame, my goodness, all I'm doing is reacting to and trying to describe what it is that he did on a basketball floor, which as a 6 foot, maybe 165-pound guy, maybe was absolutely phenomenal. So my gratitude to him, not only for what he had to say at the Hall of Fame, but also the fact that he gave me, again, such great material to work with.
Yeah, I agree. I always link you too. When I think of his career, I think of your voice calling his career. Most exciting player, I would assume, would be Allen 1, Embiid 2, in terms of who you've covered in your career?
So if you want to go back to my days as the halftime host, I started in 82, 83.
Okay.
So Julius Erving, just in terms of his sheer artistry, Moses Malone, just in terms of his sheer knowledge of the game and workmanship, through the Barkley, who, like Iverson, was, I won't even call him an oddity because that sounds condescending, but clearly a very unique kind of player. And then through the years with Iverson and now with this current group, it's been a phenomenal experience. Listen, there are many great players, and fortunately, a lot of Hall of Famers who I've had the opportunity to cover, whether it's a host or as the play-by-play announcer, and each guy brought his own unique tool set to the game, and were thrilling in their own respects.
A couple quick ones here. What is the first language that you want to learn?
Spanish.
Okay.
I actually, so weird as it sounds, I had Spanish in high school, so I feel as though I already have a starting point. I played the flute in high school, and I want to say it was the lockout year, the 11-12 lockout year. I was just looking for something to do, so I went out and was going to take lessons and purchased a new one and never played it. And it's been on my shelf all this time. So nearly 10 years later, I'm going to whip that out and play it. I'm finishing the second edition of a textbook, and I have a number of other things that I want to do. I'd like to teach, and there could be some marketing and other opportunities there. So I'm excited for what life has to offer. And again, any Sixers fan out there, if you see me on the street, please, by all means, say hello. At least I'll know I'm still relevant in some form or fashion.
And the last thing is country you want to visit.
Anywhere that's not the United States. Of course, I love my country. And I've been talking to my wife about a national parks trip or something similar to that. And obviously that would be the United States, but I am ready, willing, and able, virus notwithstanding and other precautions notwithstanding. Hopefully things will clear up to the point where I can just throw a dart at the map and say, all right, honey, let's pack our bags and go.
I know when you ask athletes this question, Mark, they always say, oh, that guy doesn't need advice or anything like that. But generally speaking, whoever comes in next, they reach out to Marc Zumoff. They say, what advice do you have? What's one thing you can tell me? What's the elevator pitch for this fan base? What would you tell them?
It's a great question. And the first thing would be, and you're talking about athletes, they normally talk about just go out, be the next Allen Iverson, just be the next blank blank. So that's what I would say. I think in our town, unfortunately, there is some parochialism. And once we welcome our announcers into our home, they are ours and we love them. Whether it's Tom McCarthy or Jim Jackson or, my goodness, the guy who's at the top of the heap in Merrill Reese. These are the people who describe the action for something that's very, very, very important in our lives. So because of that, and I have to tell you that I experienced this too when I first started doing it, people aren't as accepting as you would like them to be. So another thing I would preach is patience, that you're going to get a little bit of blowback, but you're not expected to be me. And in time, my memory will fade and you will come to the fore and hopefully you'll be embraced as I was.
I'm asking every guest this question, so I'm going to ask you this one. I asked every guest so far this week. Sixers got bounced out earlier than we expected. Flyers didn't make the playoffs. Eagles, we don't know what the future holds with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. And the Phillies, well, we're crossing our fingers. So I ask you this question, Marc Zumoff. Are we going to be okay?
Well, you're asking short-term, long-term. You can always, and I learned this just from being the Sixers announcer, you could take any scenario and paint it any way you want. You can decide that it's going to be doomsday, or you could be one of those who says, you know what, one more player or one more of this, and we can turn it around and be not only relevant, but a title contender. So I'll take the area that I know best, which is the 76ers, and say this. We all know that they had the makings of a team that could have gone to the NBA Finals this year. And a lot of people have pointed, and I think by and large, unfairly, at Ben Simmons. Yes, he was an issue. Yes, he has issues he's got to deal with. But my goodness, Mark, you never have success or failure because of one play or one player. It's always a number of different things. That's how you succeed and that's how you fail. So I would point to the Sixers and say, yeah, I think they're going to be really okay. Whether or not Daryl Morey keeps Ben Simmons is to be decided, but whatever happens, I think there are plenty of other players in place, not to mention the coaching of Doc Rivers, and an opportunity for the Sixers to be very successful in the very near future, as soon as next year.
Mark, I know this is not going to be the last time you and I talk, but I know this is the last time we'll probably talk about retiring here. 27 years, play-by-play. My memories growing up with the Sixers, obviously, you're attached to every single one of them. And when it comes to your career in total, no one is more deserving of going out on your own terms and moving on to the next thing, whether that's traveling, whether that's playing the flute, whatever it might be. No one is more deserving than you. You are the genuine article, a phenomenal talent that you were kind enough to share your talents with us, and your wife was kind enough to allow you to share your talents with us. I can't thank you enough for all your generosity and just how great a guy and how talented a human being you are. Congratulations. You deserve every moment of happiness from this point on, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mark, and keep on keeping on, brother. You're doing great.
Thank you, my friend. The great Marc Zumoff joining us here on the Rothman Institute guest line. Thank you so much, Mark.
You got it.
Once again, my thanks to our friend Marc Zumoff joining us there on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. You know, I've told you many times how much of a late night fan I am, and I even go back to Johnny Carson when I was a kid, and I remember Johnny Carson's last episode when he looked into the camera and he said, if I could somehow magically, I'd like to go back and do the whole thing all over again. And I just always thought that was the coolest thing, like a man at the end of his career acknowledging what a great ride he had, how much fun he had. I just never imagined in a million years that I would know the person that was Johnny Carson. Like, I got to know Michael Barkan, who is obviously still at NBC, but when they gave the show to Amy and I on Philly Sports Talk, he said that same thing. And we hadn't had a conversation about that yet. And he said the same thing. I'd like to do the same thing all over again. And I was like getting choked up because I love Michael and he's still one of my good friends to this day. And then, of course, Marc Zumoff calling it a career as far as play-by-play. And I can't help thinking back to that moment. And the same sentiment, I'm sure, echoes with Mark, that if he could somehow magically go back, he'd like to do the whole thing all over again. And I, again, can't think of a man that would be more deserving of going through that ride again than Marc Zumoff. So I can't thank him enough for coming on the program and just talking to us about it, because he's the best. And we will miss him doing games. And whoever the next guy is, good luck to you. I'm sure whoever is going to do it will do a fine job. But I'll tell you right now, if I'm betting money on who the next guy is, I'm going to bet money on that Brian Seltzer fella, who's a great dude. He does digital work right now on the the Sixers website. He does pre and post stuff on the radio. He filled in for Tom McGinnis once. That guy is a real talent, and that's who I would bet would be the next guy. I got no influence on that. I have no inside knowledge on that. I'm just saying, if you said, my neighbor asked me the other day, who would you say is next? I said, my front runner would be Brian Seltzer. That would be my front runner. But as Zumoff even said, and JJ even said when he told us yesterday, you can't replace these guys. You can only take over the position. And that certainly is true. And I think that whoever is next, that's the job. It's not replacing anybody. It's taking over the responsibilities of doing play-by-play for the 76ers. So, Mark, thanks again for coming on. And thanks for everything, basically. I mean, how many times do we look at the TV and just watch that shot go up in the air and just wait for, yes, that whole thing. And, yep, there you go. So, I guess we'll just go and watch him play the flute somewhere and do a concert in Spanish while he's at it. So once again, thanks to Marc Zumoff joining us on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. And speaking of Rothman Orthopaedics, when you have orthopedic issues, you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman Orthopaedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, but each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, which means you can have confidence that you get past the pain when you need to be past the pain. Visit them in one of their 30-plus locations in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including 4 orthopedic-only urgent cares. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. A personal note, when my wife broke her foot when she was not at all drunk or intoxicated up at the Poconos, saw Rothman Doc shortly thereafter, and they took great care of her. Absolutely great care of her, and she's walking around no problem right now. Running around, as a matter of fact, chasing little toots around the house. So my thanks to Rothman Orthopaedics for taking care of my wife and all of that. I'm sorry, my wife. All right. Steak in Maine, Heart of Northeast Maryland. What's today? Thursday? Friday, tomorrow, little lunchtime at Steak in Maine in the Heart of Northeast Maryland. Whether you're down in a more upscale steakhouse or casual bar and patio, you'll enjoy the highest quality of prime meats, fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar, and freshly prepared sushi. All that and an extensive wine list, including their own Cavada Cellars wines. Open every day for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Steak in Maine in the Heart of Northeast Maryland, voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. Check it out for yourself at steakinmaine.com for more information. I had a friend over the house yesterday, and he said, "Hey, did you really have that 2-pound steak?" And I said, "Well, would I lie to you?" Showed him the picture of the 2-pound steak. Me just, it's so beautiful. And he goes, that's definitely a 2-pound steak. It's ginormous. 2-pound tomahawk steak of deliciousness. Also, check out our friends over at Philadelphia Sports Nation, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. PHL Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. FanUp. A lot of fun on the FanUp app throughout the playoffs this basketball season. Download the FanUp app right now. Use promo code FanUp. That's promo code FanUp. Get 2,000 bonus points. That's FanUp. You can get in on their weekly contests, their daily contests. You can answer fun questions, rise on their leaderboard. They're getting more points. If you download the FanUp app and you use promo code FanUp, you get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate. Make sure you do this and squad up with your friends because the days of playing fantasy sports alone are over. Join the FanUp app right now. Get in on all the action. The only app where you can win real brand prizes with the FanUp app. So make sure you take advantage of that. All right, without further ado, let's jump into our social media check-in brought to you by our friends at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. That's steakandmaine.com. Let's start it off from the top here. A lot of great comments. You people are just awesome. Gabe is just checking in saying, Zumoff! I love when it's just the name and the exclamation points because I feel like that does convey the message perfectly. April's checking in. Good morning, all. Phillies bullpen is garbage. Can confirm. In a minute, I'll let you hear from Joe Girardi after last night's game. Joe kind of made it seem like his hands were tied yesterday. I can't think of a situation. Oh, yes, I can. Up 20. Maybe that's where Feliz comes in. But Joe talks about Aaron Nola and his night, and he also talks about the bullpen. And you could tell Joe was perturbed by questions like, hey, Joe, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? When it comes to what he did with the bullpen, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Bullpen does suck. And I was thinking, you know what we're going to do? We're gonna steal that meme from The Office, which has taken on a whole new life during pandemic while we've all been like stuck in our houses and now coming out of the house. But during that whole like year, it was I feel like I saw more Office memes than ever. But it would be shortly after Michael left, and they're going through the different managers, the auditions basically to be manager, and Dwight Schrute takes over as manager, and he's like, this is a no-nonsense type of household or office. And Jim is sitting in the back with the chart, and he's flipping it over, and he's saying, or he's erasing it and going, zero chart, whatever it is, 0 days since our last nonsense. I feel like we need that with the Phillies in the bullpen. It's been 0 days since our last nonsense with the bullpen. And although Aaron Nola, again, did not look great yesterday, I know people will look at 11 strikeouts. Like, people that didn't watch the game probably go, 11 strikeouts, wow, that was incredible. But then if you watch it, you see how erratic he was and how he got a lot of called third strikes. And then later in the game, that came to bite him in the ass, as my uncle would say. And that's what it did. It bit him in the ass. And he, of course, was run in the fifth inning. But anyway, April, you're right. The bullpen sucks. Tell you all that to tell you this. Dan Schwartz checking in. Good morning, all. Guess Chris Paul is too old. Oh, and per usual, Phillies suck. That Chris Paul. First off, Patrick Beverley. You know, I was going to sing his praises for his defensive prowess throughout this series and how things changed when he really stepped up against Devin Booker, most notably. The whole Devin Booker to under 30 points for, I think it was 3 or 4 straight games, because the first game he dropped 40, and then I think it was game 5, he dropped 30 again. It was a couple of games in between there where he was actually held under 30 points, and most of that was thanks to Patrick Beverley. And then, I don't know what Chris Paul said to him, but it triggered Patrick Beverley towards the end of the game, and he just shoved Chris Paul in the back. First off, you're a punk for doing that. Second, if you're a member of the Suns, how do you not crack that guy? After he pushed Chris Paul, I saw Frank the Tank Kaminsky standing there and just be like, hey, why are you doing that? That Frank doesn't sound like that, but this is just my voice for him. Hey, and he just, like, gives him a little shove. Dude, let me tell you something. When I was playing intramural basketball, okay, when I was in high school, somebody did it to my teammate once. You know what? I ran up and I stole that basketball from him. And I tossed some trash. I said, hey, give me that. That's right. And then I went the other way. And then the next thing I knew, I was on the ground. And there was like 4 of my teammates standing over me, pushing and shoving this guy. And I remember the kid played for CB West High School when they were winning like state championships every year. And I just looked up and my teammates were fighting. And that's when I came back to consciousness. And the ref was like, all right, son, get to the line. You're shooting 2. And I was like, okay, I'll shoot 2 now. And yes, I made them. Again, 90% free throw shooter, no big deal. Intramural basketball. And then there was a little melee. My teammates stood up for me. You know what they didn't do? They didn't do this. Hey. Anyway, all right, that's enough of me beating it. What are you kidding me? Anyway, so that's how that happened. Patrick Beverly pushed Chris Paul, and he's a punk for doing it. Anyway, and Frank Kaminsky, hey, why do that? I don't know. But congratulations to the Suns. They're going to the championship. They're going to the final. They'll see who they play in that Bucks Hawks series that's resumes tonight with I don't know who's playing. Trae Young, bone bruise, questionable. You got no structural damage, thank goodness, to Giannis Antetokounmpo. By the way, I think I'm going to start going Antetokounmpo. That doesn't sound right to me, but that's how you pronounce his name. I've been a Giannis Antetokounmpo fan. I'm just proud that I've gotten to that point where I say the first part correctly, and I'm not sure about the end. But I'm pretty sure, technically speaking, it's Antetokounmpo. Giannis, he's probably not playing tonight. No structural damage, but questionable for tonight's basketball game. And then Clint Capella took an elbow to the face in the final 4 minutes of Game 4 in Atlanta. Went to the locker room with the towel on his face. He'll probably play tonight. If you're an NBA star, I can't say it enough. You should have, I don't know if it's bad karma. I got a text from somebody yesterday saying, do you buy into that the NBA season is cursed? And I was like, hell yeah, I buy into it. You had players bitching about it, and rightfully so to some degree. 72 games starting in December. Whoo, I don't know about that. And then you're the only league that had your actual all-star game. Think about that. You're the only league that actually had an all-star game. And then you extend the playoffs with the play-in format. And players were telling you this is a bad idea the entire time. Now, I'm not saying these guys are hurt because of the condensed schedule. I'm just saying they made the juju. That's what they made. They made the bad karma, and now the players are dropping like flies in the playoffs. Embiid, Harden, Irving, all these guys, Kawhi Leonard, who Paul George even acknowledged after the game last night, saying if they had Kawhi, they could be going to the finals, and he's probably right on that, considering how close the series was. I don't doubt that for a second. So, yeah, the bad karma was put into the air. All that because Dan mentioned Chris Paul. All right. Dan's back. Nola this year to April. Yeah, Nola has been disappointing this year overall. Benny, so hyped for Zumoff. Sealski could take a lesson. Come on. Rob, let's go. Rob, Zoo. Love it. Dan, very true. Mark, I'm bald too. I need to change my name to spell it with a C, and I could be the third musketeer. Mark Langer, come on down, brother. Yeah, spell. See, here's the thing. Apparently, it's big with the Jewish community, the French community, and the Italian community to spell Mark with a C, and probably the Spanish community. But yeah. But I don't know about the other ones. I don't think there's a K in the Spanish alphabet. I know there's not a K in the Italian alphabet. They're aware of the letter K, but it's introduced through other cultures, like Kleenex. They would call it Kleenex in Italy. But yeah, there's no K in the Italian alphabet, which is why I'm Mark with a C. And the Mark Ivoroni story I've told you guys before. Dan, don't forget another blown lead. That's 3 from the franchise record. I think a celebration is ordered when they break that record. Dan Schwartz, that is where we're at right now in terms of this Phillies season. Benny's checking in. Farzy, you going to sue Zumoff and the NCAA for stealing your ideas? I just may. Zumoff, no, because he just told me that he's not buying the pizza shop. Although he said if he does, I get a free pie out of it. So I feel like that's even no need to involve the court system in any of that. James, is Rothman new? Yes, Rothman is new. I did some endorsements in my previous radio career for them, but they are new to this program. We're happy to have them on board. James, I've got chills. Can't believe he's done. Yeah, JD's checking in. Why, Zoo? Why? I'm with all yous. I really am. It's not going to be real to me until I turn on the TV next year. It's not going to be real. Gabe's checking in saying, I love this man, meaning Zumoff, as do I. Farzy convinced him to stay. Hey, if a guy has been contemplating retirement for as many months as he was, I think he's thought it through. If a wise man such as Marc Zumoff has been contemplating retirement as much as he has, I don't think, hey, man, why don't you stay? Coming from me is really going to help that, but I understand what you're saying. Henry's asking, was it Sealski's fault? I got it. I have to have Mike back on the show at some point, and you guys know that. I think he is going to revel in the idea that he is the heel of this program through no fault of his own. Let's see. What else do we have? You two need JD's back. You two need a special. Could listen to you guys all day. That's very nice of you. I could talk to Marc Zumoff all day. Inside the Birds. What's up, boys? Thank you. It's a great interview. I appreciate that. Luigi says, Zoo, tuck me in at night. Was it somebody yesterday saying that he needs to do April? Was it you saying that he needs to do books on tape? I would have Marc Zumoff be my alarm clock, where in my alarm clock it would be, all right, is it time to get up? Yes! And I'd be like, ready to go. That's the alarm clock I would buy. Appreciate everybody checking in. Nick's checking in saying, Miss Zoo Live. Don't worry, Farzy show is available throughout the day. Farzy show available throughout the day. So you can download it on the podcast thing or the YouTube, John, and you could enjoy it in that way. What else do we have here? Want to get a couple more of these in here. Dan say, not a true Italian. Mark with a C is questionable. No, it's C. There's no K in the Italian alphabet, so that's why you have a C for a lot of the Italians, a lot of the Jewish friends. And a lot of the French people. I don't know that many French people. French Canadian, I know. I don't know many people from France. Chef George Perrier. I know him. I'll ask him that question next time I see him. So Farzy graduated in 1966? Of course, Farzy loved the smoke reference. All right. Sealski and me like getting high. I don't know. You people are just a good time. A good time. Marc-Andre Fleury. There you go, JD. Anyway, that's our social media check-in. Brought to you, our friends at Steak and Maine at steakandmaine.com. Always great catching up with all you fine people. Let's go into our Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. Morning Rush segment. All right, I just gave you the Patrick Beverly spiel. I moved that up there because somebody triggered me, but Dan triggered me on it. So appreciate that. So I already gave you that spiel. Oh, I wanted to give you Joe Girardi here. So you got the Phillies back at it today with the Marlins. Are going to try to win this series today with Zach Eflin on the hill. He goes up against Pablo Lopez. Two good pitchers having good years going at it today to see who wins this series. So we'll see what happens there. Keep your fingers crossed that the runner is on base when Bryce Harper hits a home run. Hopefully that happens today. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, and also cross your fingers that we don't have to see the bullpen. Here is Joe Girardi after the game yesterday. I think this is him this is him talking about Aaron Nola's start and how he was kind of all over the place and how the Marlins later took advantage of that as the game went on.
You got 2 outs in that 5th inning with a runner on 3rd. Marte hit a ball that was off the plate. Cooper hit a ball that was off the plate. Not sure where Duvall's. I don't think that one was a strike, and he just couldn't finish the inning. And we pushed him about as far as we could push him, and we just couldn't get out of it. 7 straight hits with 2 outs.
That's a bit of a problem. And when he went through that run in the 4th inning, we were like, all right, just get one. Just get one. Just get home run. Just get one. Just get one. Single up the middle. You kind of had a feeling throughout the game with Nola that it just wasn't going to go well, especially when you saw the fact that he was already almost at 100 pitches in the 5th inning. And, yeah, look, 11 strikeouts again is a nice little number to have. But if you're watching that game, you knew it wasn't going to last very long. So you got to go to the bullpen. I don't know if you got to go to Feliz, but here is Joe Girardi after the game talking about how his hands were kind of tied with his bullpen decision.
You got 2 outs in that 5th inning with a runner on 3rd. Marte hit a ball that was off the plate. Cooper hit a ball that was off the plate. Not sure where Duvall's. I don't think that one was a strike, and he just couldn't finish the inning. And we pushed him about as far as we could push him, and we just couldn't get out of it. 7 straight hits with 2 outs.
The run that came in that 5th inning, again, I don't know if Feliz was the guy to go to, but where they were going right there, then and there, you had Feliz, Neris, De Los Santos, Brogdon, and Bradley. That's the guys that rounded out the inning. Neris needed 37 pitches to get through 1 inning. 37 pitches to get through 3 outs. Then you look at the rest of those guys, De Los Santos, Brogdon. I don't know if there's anybody else that you could trust in that spot. But when you had runners on base, Feliz is the guy that's probably my last option. If I know I'm not using Hector Neris later in that game, I might be bringing him in that spot to use him in there. Because Feliz, what has he done to show that he is worthy of being in a close ball game as it was yesterday? Nothing. Last option for me. Last option for me in that regard. So, again, we'll cross our fingers. Hope the Phillies at least win this series. And hopefully we'll start our chart tomorrow of it's been so many days since our last bullpen nonsense. Hopefully that will be the case. Let's move in now to back to the NCAA for just a second, because I know you guys are going to be seeing this for quite some time. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, you can tell me in the comments, I feel like in Philly there's a funny thing where we have all these Division I teams, like especially in basketball, right? With the Big Five and the City Six and all that. And I feel like people from outside the city think that Philadelphia is this big college town, especially in college basketball, because we have all these teams. When in reality, what I think it does, it divides us. It doesn't make us like one big college basketball city. Temple has its group. Villanova certainly has its group. LaSalle has its group. Like all these schools have their own little groups here that divide our college basketball allegiances. So that kind of almost waters it down as opposed to builds it up. I feel like we don't really give a damn about college sports in Philadelphia. I feel like Villanova obviously cares about their college basketball team. But after that, people are just like, meh, take it or leave it. When you have 4 major sports in your city, 5, including the Union, when you have that many professional ranks, it kind of makes everything else go by the wayside. So I feel like the news about the NCAA allowing athletes to get paid will kind of just go over in Philadelphia like, meh. Just like a lot of other college news goes over in Philadelphia. For me personally, thinking about how it can affect college basketball, here's where I think it affects it in the greatest, and college football too. Here's where I think, but mostly college basketball. Here's where it affects things the most. Players can now get paid to go to the G League, whatever it is, $150,000, as opposed to going to college. Or they could go out of college early and go to the G League. So it's not going to help players stay in college for 4 years, but it might help players go to college for maybe another year, knowing that they could still be making money off their brand, off their likeness, off their image. And that's the NIL that you'll be seeing, a bunch. But what you will be seeing, I think mostly, is players just being allowed to make money off their notoriety, off their fame, off being on camera for being a college athlete. And I think that will help players stay at the college ranks maybe a little longer, not 4 years, but maybe an extra year, because they at least know that they're going to be making money. And it's not a matter of, okay, if I am going to make money off being a college athlete, I got to do it on the sly. Because how many athletes do we hear about after the fact? Oh, yeah, I got paid to play in college. Like, what, are you kidding me? One of the athletes just came out the other day and talked about it. So I think it'll help a little bit in keeping players and keeping college sports a little bit more competitive, a little bit more exciting. But it's certainly not going to do anything to keep a player at those ranks for 4 years. But I think it'll help a little bit in terms of keeping somebody at the college ranks for maybe an extra year, maybe 2, because they're allowed to make money off who they are. Let's get into our big bet segment. I took yesterday off. I am going to go ahead and say that I think Trae Young actually plays tonight. Giannis, I don't think so. I think the Hawks win on the road, and I think they I think they have a game 6 back in Atlanta with a chance to close out the series up 3-2. So I think the Hawks win tonight. I think the Bucks are getting 3.5 at home. So I like the Hawks winning tonight. And I was just really impressed with their overall performance. Even before Giannis went out, they were controlling that basketball game. When Giannis, so people look at the fact that when Giannis got injured in game, whatever the hell it was, game 4, when he got injured in game 4, they scored 36 points, the Bucks, from the 7:14 mark of the third quarter to the end of the game. 36 points through a quarter and a half, essentially. Well, before that, they scored 16 points in the second quarter. So the Bucks were already having their struggles in this game. The Hawks just seem like a team of destiny right now. They seem like a team, a bunch of us, myself included, completely underestimated. And if you're going to get a 6 3-point performance from Bogdan Bogdanović again, then yeah, I see the Hawks winning this, especially if they do get Trae Young back in the lineup. And man, Lou Williams just played a hell of a game in game 4. I see no reason why he couldn't do that again as well. Hey guys, it was a lot of fun today, as you well know, having Marc Zumoff on the show. You can catch that obviously available on podcast. It'll be available a little bit later in the show. And how about Zoo? I didn't ask him about Ben because I didn't think he'd give me anything on Ben other than he's got to stay. The way he put it was whenever Daryl Morey decides with Ben Simmons, and he said that Ben's getting way too much blame because it never comes down to one guy. And he's right on that. I still think it's mostly due to Ben Simmons. But he gave us a little bit on that, which I was pleasantly surprised. So you can download that podcast, obviously, wherever you get your podcast, or you can watch it right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're consuming the content on Periscope, on Twitter, wherever it is, Twitch as well. Make sure you guys go ahead and take advantage and watch that. So my appreciation to Marc Zumoff for coming on the show. Thanks to you guys for watching, for listening. My thanks to Jim Hyden, who produced the program. And this is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow, the Friday before 4th of July weekend. And yes, Luigi, I see your comments about weather lady. At some point. I will get you. Tim, no, my middle name is not Stanley. My middle name is Albert, for those asking. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.